Welcome to Beauty Habitua. My name is Trina, and today I'm going to show you how to depot some blush pans that are from the Viseart 12 pan palette. So if this is something that you're interested in seeing how I get this depotted successfully, please stay tuned. Some of your basic supplies that you're going to need. Pair of tongs, because this is going to get really hot. I've just got these were like $1, you know, solid tongs. Some type of depotting knife. What I actually use, this is a paint blade. This blade here is so incredibly thin, it actually fits down in between the edges of the pan, which is what we're going to do. First thing I'm going to do is depot this rim. This little thing right here actually comes out, goes all the way around the 12 pan palette, and then the pans themselves sit inside of this section. So that's what I want to get first, because this has got a solid back to it. To get this out, you need to find the edge of the pan where it's going to be weakest. And this is where you have to be very gentle, because if you overdo it, you can crack the pans that are inside. But if you listen closely, you can hear it pop when you press on the outside. So this is the weak spot here where it's going to pop up the most easy. You see that right there? And now I can put my little knife down inside of that and help pop it the rest of the way out. Now that I've got the blade up underneath, I want to make sure that it's not going to come flying out of there. I just want to use the leverage to pop it away from the edge. There we go. Now that I'm all the way in, I can pop this out. And the 12 pans are now separated from the actual tray that it came in. Now, if you can see, there are little pins, holes that are in these. These are glued in already. So pushing through these pinholes, if you try and do that, what's going to happen is you're going to wind up cracking the very fragile formula that's in on this side. So don't just automatically assume that you can shove something through there and get this to pop off. I do have a paper clip though, and you want to use a larger paper clip because you need one that's got a little bit of strength to it, not too terribly flimsy. And what you can do is just poke down into the pan to see if there's any give on the pan itself. If there's not, don't push it. Just really be gentle with it, just seeing if there's any give in there. In this case, there's not. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some heat to this. This is tile, so I'm safe to go ahead and do that. It's just a regular heat gun. It's about 120 volts, and it has a cool down, an on and off, and an intensifier for the power. But I'm going to go with the lowest power setting, so I'm just going to hit on. And right here you can see that it goes to 430 degrees all the way up to 800. But I don't need to go that hot. I just want to be able to warm this up and melt this enough that I can move it. And this is where patience becomes your friend. Back this up a little bit. Move this that direction. And yes, that's warm, but it wasn't super hot yet. And we're just going to slowly heat up the entire thing all at once. We just want the entire piece of plastic to heat up first. But I keep testing to find out if these will just slowly release. And when I tell you just use the littlest bit of heat or in pressure, the littlest bit of pressure, I really do mean that. You don't want to push too terribly much. All right, I don't know if it's completely obvious, but right here, you can see the little dips that are starting, and that's because I applied some heat. And while the heat was being applied here a little bit more locally, I'm looking to see if I can get these to drop out of the pan. And by heating it and just pushing a little bit of pressure through that hole, and I do mean a little bit, you can see this little line developing here. That's the pan on the inside and how well adhered they are, which is a good testament of quality, that you know that your Viseart stuff isn't just going to fall out. Okay, so I've turned this a little bit so you guys can kind of see. Let's see if I can put that. There we go. You can definitely see that this is concaved some more. I'm going to push a little bit on the pan. Same thing for this one. Oh, that one's really gotten soft. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this whole thing over carefully. So you got to make sure that you're really holding on to this well, as you flip this over and gently pull it that direction. We're going to grab it by the lid. Come on, you. A little harder to do one-handed. And we're pulling them back. Now you can see that that pan is starting to release, the pink pan. I'm going to flip it back over gently. So you can see I'm just warping it as it slowly comes up. There's a little hole in here. I'm going to reach inside and see if I can break that one loose. You can see where it kind of pulls up. Sorry, I'm trying to hold this so you guys can see. And I have one pan out. And you can see it's only got one little spot of glue that's holding it. Now I can get my other right up underneath it. Now it's time for the third one. You can reach up underneath this pan now and simply remove it. Now it's time for the other side. I'm going to push these pans off to the side so they can cool down. I'm going to heat up from the front a little bit just to get the ridges a little softer, taking a note from what I did on this side. It's already cooled down quite a bit because I didn't have the heat on it for a minute. And no, this doesn't change the formula. It's nothing that you need to worry about ruining your makeup with. And I'm going to flip this back over and we're going to start that same process over again on this side. And because this is already heated up over here before and slightly bent, as you can see, I'm going to use that as I bend this forward. I can now use my tongs and more effectively. You can see where now it's starting to sink in right here. So we're getting warmth right where we need it to be. Starting to indent, you can see the shadows there now. Now that I'm sure that we've gotten this heated and there are no pans on this side now, get really close and warm that bar up that's there in the center. It's the thickest bar of all of them. That little crossbar there. Same thing on this side. And we can see that this pan right here is starting to lift now. I'm filming the depotting. A little bit of heat on the back again. Remember, that's where the glue is at, so we want to keep that nice and warm. And we're going to heat from this side. And that's causing, that heat's causing that to pull away, which is what we want it to do on both of them. An opportunity to put this down up underneath there and not pull. Actually, let's see how soft that's become. I can just push it down. Same thing with the other side. Now here's my final tip and suggestion. I'm going through and I'm spacing these out. When you depot blushes, one of the things to consider is how far apart you space them. The reason I'm saying this is if you butt everything really closely together, it makes it much more difficult to use a brush, like a blush brush, to get into these pans. So you want to make sure that there's some reasonable space between them. I am actually going to space this out a couple of times because what I want to do is I want to put my Makeup Forever blushes that I have. They're very, very large in pan size, unfortunately, and they're round, but I want to make sure that I have adequate space to put them in here, so I'm going to mess with that. The differences in them, but optimally, I would want to have some kind of space, maybe a little bit more narrow than this, in between, maybe like that, between the blushes, just so that I don't get a different shade in there if I didn't want that. Now in this case, these are all bronzers, not necessarily blushes, and then the differences in the tonality is very, very minor. Each one of them is different, but it, again, like I said, it's minor in the details. And then these two, of course, are highlights up there. But stay tuned, I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so this is the finished product. zoom you out a little bit right here. Yes, I'm using the Makeup Geek Slim Case. I actually really like them, so this is how I decided to space them apart and keep everything with my bronzers in the warm peachy tone, and of course color-coded at the top as well. But that is 2 of the Theory blush palettes and 1 of the 6-pan palettes from Viseart's blush sets, fitting nicely together in here. I did want to make one note. Don't worry too much about pulling the glue that's off of these. It actually helps you, even though this pan is magnetic. When you do space them in there, the glue kind of sticks down and it keeps them from moving around long term. There you have it. How to depot your Viseart blush palettes without breaking them. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'm interested in what you have to say. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you learned something, or if you'd like to see future videos. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll know the next time I upload. Thanks for visiting Beauty Habitua. Have a great day. Bye.